Hi there. Welcome to Casual Conversations with my friend Krista. I'm so excited to have you here today with me in our kitchen and be able to do this again. It's been a while since I've had a casual conversation with someone via Zoom here, and I'm grateful for this platform for us to be able to share a little bit about your journey with conscious discipline. So this conversation is really about Krista sharing her journey with conscious discipline and how it's impacted her and her life. So welcome, Krista. So glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here with you in your kitchen.
I, I mean, I just got it remodeled, so it's really
Nice, very
beautiful.
nice. I love it.
And I didn't even tell you, to wear green, but you've matched my coffee mugs. Oh, I guess it's on that side.
It was a beautiful oops.
Yeah, it really was. So I'm just so glad that you were willing to do this with me and be able to share with others about your journey with learning conscious discipline and being on the journey now. How long have you been practicing conscious discipline?
A little over 3 years now. We started this journey. So my daughter was born in the day that COVID was declared a pandemic, March 2020, and we started when she was about a year and a half. I am a physician, and I am used to researching things before I do them.
Oh, okay.
And lo and behold, I did not research motherhood. I was like, "Oh, it's natural, right? We can sure, I should have instincts that will just kick in." No, there's no manual that comes with your beautiful baby when they're born.
Mhm.
So, I needed an algorithm to follow. I needed an approach. I needed information. That's just how my brain works.
And
Um,
so when was it that you realized, oh wow, it would have been more helpful if I had some information before I did this, like you jump into anything in your life, you get more information. How old was she when you realized that it could be helpful for you to have some support or some kind of foundation to work from?
Yeah, I feel like the first month you're just in a fog, right? You're just like surviving. They're feeding all the time. I was pumping because she wouldn't latch and she was very small, and we had to worry about like some health issues early on. So I was just in survival mode the first month, and I feel like a lot of people kind of are.
I agree.
When the fog started to lift, I started to realize, oh, yeah, I should have gotten more information going into this. Um, so probably when she was about, honestly, 6 months old, when they start to have their own personalities, is when I realized, "This is a person I'm molding," and that, I'm responsible for.
I
I
was just
spent my 20s in a library, so I didn't feel like an adult at that point.
I was going to say,
Um
it's like all of a sudden, it's like, oh gosh, I'm responsible for this human being and for how they are and who they are and all of it. And it could feel a little overwhelming. So it seems like you took charge and got more information. So when did you start learning about conscious discipline? When she was 6 months old or when she was older?
When she was 6 months old, I started doing my research, reading different parenting books, reading just, different things when I could, because,
Mhm.
you're still busy when you have a 6-month-old. And
Were
I
you
was also
working also at the
yeah,
time?
I was also working full time, pumping full time. We were in the middle of COVID, so we were navigating that. And, I realized, yeah, I needed some sort of approach, some help, some guidance. And I didn't find that in a lot of the books I was reading. I found some tips. You learn something from everything that you're exposed to.
Yes, I agree.
And
And
I
so,
learned some
what,
perspective shifts.
from the books you were reading.
Mhm.
And so, what brought you to connect with me and our journey together with conscious
Yeah,
discipline?
we have a very good mutual friend, and she encouraged me to reach out. And you had your parenting series coming up. So I was like, perfect. A course. This is great. This is right up my alley. And I remember the first meeting that we had as a group was the first time I felt like I could breathe in a year and a half. You made me breathe. You made me breathe. You made everybody breathe there. You taught us how to breathe with your diaphragm, which really spoke to the logical part of my brain, right? To implement positive biofeedback and calm. before approaching anything, and you just spoke my language when you went into how we perceive people at their various like cognitive levels and capability, and it was such a good feeling. I definitely from the beginning was like, I need more of this.
Wow. So when you came to the virtual series that I offer on the very first class, you felt it seems like you had this felt sense of safety and connection with me. And it was the first time you really were able to take those conscious deep breaths because I invited everybody to join me in breathing. And we spent time talking about how to do it because I think we don't realize, I mean, we're breathing obviously to stay alive, but we don't realize that there are different ways to breathe unless maybe you do yoga or you're a singer or you meditate. If you don't do those things, you wouldn't know that doing those belly breaths can really help us de-stress. I know I had no clue until I was taught that. And so it sounds like it really just that really resonated with you. Just that. That is everything, right? I'm sure you realize that on this journey.
Really is everything. Yeah.
And so if you had to say like I don't know. Often I'll say, well, this is like the most important thing in consciousness, but this is my favorite thing. And I find that I say that with like everything. So I don't know if you feel the same way, but if you had to pull out a couple of the things that really impacted you, learning about conscious discipline, do you have a thing you could pull out and say, oh, this really was life changing or
So the breathing really correlates with taking a moment to pause before you to respond before you instead of react.
Mhm.
And so I like to call it the pause. I actually read about the pause from a book that I had read as well called Bringing Up Bebe, very popular. And that was really one of the key pieces I took away from that book. And when I had heard that reinforced with conscious discipline, it just really resonated with me. So we very easily can, unfortunately, domino effect into reacting and then making a frustration from a child, or how many people call them tantrums. We can domino effect into that in a negative pathway by not pausing and reacting emotionally instead of pulling into our frontal lobe and our executive functioning and responding.
Yeah.
So that was huge.
So, it makes sense that you are saying that because we had a conversation months ago about something else, and I was definitely not to be judgmental, but I was so impressed with how much you knew about conscious discipline, right? Because I don't always get to have casual conversations with people and know kind of where they are in their journey. And it was like everything you were saying about it was so powerful. Just I think you were sharing with your child to wish well to another child that was having a hard time at drop off.
Mhm.
And when you said that, it just really I was so excited to continue to be on this journey with you because it's like you really get it. And there are a lot of people who think they know what conscious discipline is and maybe even think they're implementing it. And so you even saying this, that it's about the pause and being more responsive. I mean, that is the core. That is everything. I say that about so many things, but it really is. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces is we don't realize people want to know, what do you do after your child hits? What do you do when your child screams and yells and has a tantrum in the store? What do you do when your child, it's like everyone wants the quick fix, it feels like. And I get that. And it makes sense. And until you really internalize this and say, this is all about me and me taking these breaths so that I can have this pause, so that I can be more responsive, that's when everything changes. And in all of our relationships. So I appreciate you sharing
Absolutely.
that. And I probably could have guessed that if I even thought about it, because I just feel like you're someone that really connected with this. I think it can be much harder for certain people. It takes a lot longer. And it seems like it just immediately connected for you when you started learning about it, which is exciting because, I just, as many people that will be on this journey as possible, I think we can really, you know, change our world while we are, raising more healthy humans and strengthening all of our relationships. So Another question, I'm just curious, did you find that learning some of the skills in conscious discipline helped you in other aspects of your life, or just with, as a parent raising your children?
I love that you brought up, changing the world, right? Because this goes into everything. It goes into so I am married to a physician as well, and we have demanding schedules, and as you know, the mother bears the brunt of the mental load, and he's a very competent man. But for some reason, some things fall out. You're using your brain all day during work, and your emotional capacity during work. You're seeing people passing every single day, especially during COVID. It's traumatic. And so yeah, sometimes the brain just shuts down when you get home because you know you're safe.
Yes.
And so the pause and the perspective of seeing somebody where they're at, where their brain is. So for example, you mentioned in your series how children's brains that well, they don't their executive function doesn't come online until they're in their 20s. That for me was huge. And I'm like, wow, okay. But also I connected it to my relationship with my husband. His
Mm.
brain is different than mine. Dad brains are different than mom brains. And then if you're slammed all day with, things that unfortunately are somewhat traumatizing, your emotional capacity may not be there. So just seeing somebody else, having some empathy, seeing them where they're at before responding or reacting, and then responding instead with that information in your brain, I think is really helpful. It helped me a lot.
So it sounds like for you, seeing people, which is one way I teach, the brain from conscious discipline, seeing people as a brain, sounds like was something you may have taken away from that course. And for me, it is personally like a lifesaver, because I'm not so focused on the behavior or triggered by the behavior of what they're saying or not saying or doing or not doing. I don't feel as frustrated or bothered, because I'm looking past the behavior in that moment to see where are they functioning from in their brain. And then, like you said, able to offer some empathy. It's like, oh, my husband is in his emotional state because he's just had a really long day. His brain is different than mine. He's not trying to not be helpful. He's not trying to not, support, because he is competent. He's just in a lower center of his brain in this moment, and me feeling frustrated, triggered, yelling, screaming, doing all the things that some of us do isn't going to help him regulate to be able to help take care of the kids. By you taking that pause, responding, breathing, so you can respond with love and empathy and understanding, then he was able to probably regulate and be more helpful, to you. And it's the same with children, right? It's like we I feel like we're so reactive, and it makes sense because it can be super annoying or concerning or frustrating or all the things when our children are having a hard time. And if we can just see that they're little, they're young, and even when they're preteens and teens, like you said, their brains aren't fully online until, mid-20s is what we're finding out. So just that information, if we could remember that during those moments of, I'm here so frustrated because my child is not organized, or is not, focusing on the time management, or is not prioritizing their homework over what, where I know your children are a little bit younger, but it's like, what, they're not that they're not supposed to, but those skills aren't online on their brain yet. And so it's our job as the parent, the same way we bathe them when they're little. We help them get dressed when they're little. We feed them when they're little, and then we teach them how to feed themselves and bathe themselves and dress themselves. It's like it's the same when they're getting older, and we're expecting them to just like all of a sudden be organized, all of a sudden have, flexibility or empathy. All those skills are in our, executive state that don't fully come online. So I think just the awareness or consciousness of the development of human beings can really benefit us and leave us feeling less frustrated, right? And have more understanding. So then the person or child that is in a lower center of their brain, we're actually able um, to help them regulate and move into a higher center, so that we have more connection and move through things with love instead of fear, with peace instead of frustration. So It's really wonderful to hear that this has not only helped you with your children, but also with your husband, and probably in all aspects of your life, I'm guessing. It's not like something we can turn on and off, right?
Yeah, and so I'm an obesity medicine physician, and I can't tell you, a little bit of empathy goes a long way. I work with people every single day that feel like they're not heard, because maybe somebody doesn't have the tools to, you know, pause and listen,
Mhm.
or maybe they don't have the tools to have that empathy online. And so then for the first time, they're feeling heard. So this is transferred into my work, with others, into if somebody, if, for example, traffic. If
In
somebody
Miami,
cuts me off, I'm like, okay, I see that's a mom. She's probably in a hurry to get her kids at drop off or, something else rather than, oh, I can't believe she cut me off.
right.
And I know you use that as an example, if, frequently as well, some similar example.
Uh,
So
It's
yeah, it's
really
it's been huge.
powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah, it really is, because what it does is it leaves you, more regulated and seeing the best in others, right? Just creating that story, because we get to create whatever story we want. We are really the narrator, and we often create negative stories. And it sounds like you've been able to take the skills and bring it into your life and create positive stories and see the best in people, learn how to really empathize with people and help people feel heard and seen and understood. And that's everything. I mean, what a beautiful world we could have if everybody had a little piece of this, right? So very exciting to have this time with you and be on this journey with you. I'm honored for that. Do you have anything else you want to share about conscious discipline, or any of the skills, or anything else that you think might help somebody else?
Yeah, I think one other thing that you mentioned, and so I did take your course, right? And I left changed, but then I went back for more. Because again, I know that it takes multiple times to hear something. It takes multiple times to learn something. Maybe you hear something differently the second time. So that was extremely helpful. And I had you, after feeling safe in your course, as a resource to lean on whenever we had trouble with, sleeping or potty training or other things, with your parent coaching program. So not only, is conscious discipline extremely important, but for moms, having support in your community is extremely important.
Yeah,
Because oftentimes, unfortunately, in the society that we live in, we feel unsupported in our journeys, or even sometimes isolated, depending on the
yeah.
circumstance, especially during COVID.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I felt that that was extremely valuable to have somebody that I could trust, feel safe with, and then, rely on whenever something came up.
Yeah. Yay. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And like I said before, I'm really honored to be on this journey with you, and so grateful that you trusted the process, and that you're really on this journey. And now you get to share with others and inspire them, and hope that, we can get to a more conscious world, and we could just raise healthier humans and all live with a little bit more love and peace within ourselves, because man, that could be so incredible. That's a little bit of my purpose here, is, or big part of my purpose is really to help others have a skill set that now we both have, to be able to manage life and relationships with more ease. I mean, not that it's easier, it's just I keep saying peace, but it is like joy. I find joy in being, around it, even in challenging, difficult situations, right? Because it's after those challenging situations to say, wow, I was able to bring the best of myself, because I was aware enough to pause and breathe, or I really helped that person, feel seen and heard for the first time in their life, just because I didn't judge them, and I saw them for who they are and empathize. So I appreciate you bringing that other aspect of it, and just excited to continue being on this journey with you. And thank you so much for joining me in this casual conversation. I hope that others will want to join my parenting series that is coming up soon. And so you can go to my website. There'll be a link, I'm sure, under here that my social media person will help me with, because I'm not sure how to do any of that. And you'll be able to find me, I'm sure, somehow, some way to join the series like Krista did and many others have, not just from, where we live, but all over, right? Because it's virtual. And like you said, that support. So at least if you're watching this, find someone that you feel safe with and connected to talk to, so that you can feel more supported if it's not through me. So I wish you all well. Thank you again, Krista,
For
and
having me.
yes, we'll see you next time.
We'll see you.